Hello everyone, I'm here today, Jedediah James P. Abelia, and here I will present you what is the kind of performance task I have chose, which is called composing an informative essay. So let's start. Here, it will determine the capability of each pupil to test their writing skills by this non-familiar activity of a said performance task, which will be informative essay, to be assessed. So, what is an informative essay? Informative essay, for that, it is an academic paper that's written with the main purpose of informing the audience about an object, person, or event, or phenomenon. Meaning, this type of essay requires you to gather information about your topic. And the next points, it will show you about the kinds of rubrics that determines the informative essay types. Here is the first rubric called analytic rubric. Here, it shows a table that signifies some determiners which focuses about the process of each pupil who was involved on this type of performance task. Here on the left side are the criteria which is code for it to determine the activity, and here are the level of strengths to which the pupils will refer on how they are good. So let's explain it one by one. And what is it? First one is the proper introduction and conclusion. The weak point is inferior point and lack of notion. The immediate point is averagely correct and appropriate. And the strongest point here is perfect or nearly correct and appropriate. Next one is the clear and informative body message. The weakest point there is several blurs and rarely informative. Next one is the immediate point, which is middling and slightly informative. And lastly, the strongest point is very nice and described well. Next one is the grammar and penmanship. The weakest point here is the unclear speech and writing and much errors found. And then the next one is the immediate point, which says that not much right in speech and writing with few errors. Then lastly, the third one or the strongest point is very right speech and so clean in writing, no errors found. And the final criteria is discussed as meaningful passage in wholeness. The weakest point here is not just deep but shallow thought is explicated. The immediate point is a deeper defining thought is explicated. While the strongest point here is the deepest critical thought is delivered well and pleasantly. So that's the part of analytic rubric which the judges will base on to the strength of each pupil who were involved. Now we're done to the first type of rubric. Now let's move on to the second type of rubric, which is called the holistic rubric. Here, in holistic rubric, shows about the product or outcome of the thing that a student done based on the view of some teachers who saw it and how they are progressive or else. So let's explain it one by one, which kind of strength that will fit to them based on their done parts. Okay, let's start with the highest one, which is the expert writer. Expert writer explains about how perfectly they are in writing, which is so nice and very professional. So it explains on the expert writer type that skill excellence range from 8 to 10 the score. And then perfectly wrote an informative essay. Very nice message was made and applied. Very clean in writing and properly organized. And lastly, most critical thought is directly delivered. That's for the expert writer. Now, for the average writer, which is just a medium only, not so much or not so good it means. It explains to you that here shows about skill excellence range from 5 to 7, the score. Averagely wrote an informative essay. Middling message was made and applied. Not much right in writing and some errors were found. Lastly, moderately relays a proper description. That's the average rater is, which is in medium level of how good the pupils are. Lastly, the poor writer, which is shows about the low performance task level of a student, and the academic quality is very low and poor, as is said. So here, it will tell you that skill excellence range from 1 to 4, poorly wrote an informative essay, very poor message with some blur meanings, equivocal writing and much errors were found, and lastly, feebly released a proper description, which shows about the strength is so poor. In opposite words, it's weak. That's the holistic rubric and those definitions. As I have explained to you what are the meaning of those rubrics that related to the said performance task is to show and measure how proficient are the pupils are when they are being tried on how they are good in writing skills, especially it is needed in some office works. So that's it guys. I'm Jedediah James Abella and thank you for listening and goodbye.